You know, it's kind of wild how a tiny, unassuming slice of pickled cucumber can ignite a full-blown war online. Well, that's exactly what happened in a Reddit thread on the Unpopular Opinion subreddit. Today, we're diving into that fierce debate to figure out why this condiment is so divisive.
So, this is where it all started, with this incredibly blunt and, let's be honest, dramatic statement. This isn't just a simple, "Oh, I don't like pickles." No. This is a declaration that the mere presence of a pickle spells doom for an entire meal.
Yeah, this wasn't just some casual complaint. It was framed as a full-on indictment. The core accusation here is that pickles don't just add a bad taste, they actually act as a culinary saboteur, permanently ruining a sandwich from the moment they make contact.
And this right here is the heart of the argument. It's all about what one user called pickle contamination. The idea is you can remove the evidence, you can take the pickle slice itself off, but the crime has already been committed. That potent juice, that smell, has already soaked into the bun, and there's just no going back.
And you know, the original poster was far from alone. A whole faction of Redditors quickly joined the cause, presenting a mountain of evidence for the prosecution. So let's look at the case they built against this controversial little vegetable.
The anti-pickle crowd literally broke down the process of ruination into 4 distinct steps. What's so fascinating is how they turn a simple dislike into this forensic, step-by-step culinary disaster, from the initial contact all the way to the final write-off.
Wow, I mean, this quote from user Sentient Gamer really captures the intensity of the anti-pickle feeling. The language here is so strong. They don't just say it's overpowering, they say it infects. It's a brilliant way to describe that feeling that a pickle is this invasive force.
So the case against pickles has a lot of layers. The complaints range from sensory issues, like that overpowering flavor and an unpleasant texture when they get warm, to more fundamental problems, like a just gut reaction to vinegar, or the belief that pickles simply mask the real taste of high-quality meat.
But of course, for every fiery accusation, there's got to be an equally passionate defense, right? And the pro-pickle camp came out in force to argue their case, and you know what? Their reasoning was just as compelling. And right here, this is the cornerstone of the whole pro-pickle argument, summed up perfectly by user FightNight14. It's not about overpowering, it's about balancing. The pickle isn't the villain, it's the hero that swoops in to cut through all the fat and richness of the meat and cheese.
The defense really rests on a few key pillars. First, you got the functional argument of balance, that acidity is a necessary tool to counteract a rich, fatty burger. Then there's the textural argument. In a world of soft red meat, that snap of a pickle is crucial. And then things get a little spicy with this point, that liking pickles signals a mature palate, an acquired taste you grow into. And finally, some argued it's not even a debate on certain sandwiches, like a Cubano, where the pickle is simply essential.
I mean, this just puts the divide in such stark contrast, doesn't it? There's absolutely zero middle ground here. On one side, you have people declaring pickles the most vile thing ever invented. And on the other, you have people who believe the only correct way to order is with extra pickles. It's a culinary civil war.
But just when you thought the battle lines were clearly drawn, boom, the conversation takes this sharp, unexpected turn. A lot of users started deflecting the blame, pointing their fingers at a completely different ingredient that was hiding in plain sight.
And this became the central question of the whole second act of this drama. The anti-pickle crowd was loud, but a new theory emerged. What if the pickle was just a scapegoat for a much slimier, mushier culprit?
Okay, so let's compare the charges. The case against pickles is all about flavor contamination from its potent juice. But the case against tomatoes? That's a whole different ballgame. The complaint here is about texture, that a mushy, watery tomato slice adds nothing but sogginess, destroying the structural integrity of the bun.
Yeah, this user just nails the anti-tomato case. It's not just about flavor, it's about physics. The tomato makes the bread wet and fall apart, all while contributing very little in return. It's seen as a structural liability. Now, this is where things get really interesting, because it adds this whole new layer to the debate, the quality caveat. The argument shifted. Maybe the problem isn't tomatoes in general, but bad tomatoes. A pale, mealy, out-of-season slice from a fast food joint? That's the villain. But a fresh, ripe garden tomato? Well, that's a completely different story.
So after all the accusations and all the defenses, what can we actually take away from this epic sandwich showdown? What does it all really mean?
Well, here's the thing.
The big verdict is, there is no verdict. There's no winner. The perfect sandwich simply doesn't exist. This entire debate is just a brilliant illustration that taste is one of the most personal, complex, and deeply subjective things about being human.
And that's because this was never a simple yes or no vote. The debate showed us there's a whole spectrum of sandwich eaters. You have the purists on either side, the cautious moderates who want their pickles on the side, the situationalists who say it depends on the sandwich, and of course, the defectors who blame the tomato entirely.
And maybe this final quote gets us the closest we're going to get to a resolution. One user argued that the ultimate goal isn't about adding or subtracting one ingredient, but achieving a perfect harmony where every part works together so well that the debate itself just becomes irrelevant. It's all about balance.
So, as we wrap this up, it kind of leaves us with a final thought. We've heard the case for and against pickles, and for and against tomatoes. But what about you? What's the one ingredient that, for you, is a total deal breaker? The one thing that truly ruins a sandwich?